I think I uncovered a scandal in my town, and I don't know if I need to contact a civil rights attorney or group or something like that, but this is fucking, I don't even know what to say. I'm going to try to keep this as brief as I can. My son's birthday was a few weeks ago. We rented a pavilion at the park near our house. We had a good time. It was great. It was a nice shady spot, not too far from the bathrooms. It was just good. A buddy of mine who has a kid around the same age as my son came up to me and wanted to know how much it cost to rent the pavilion because his son's birthday was in a few weeks. So I told him it was a little pricey for a city park, but it was like $150 for a couple hours. But it was worth it if you booked a nice location like we got in the shade and stuff. He asked me how to book, and our city's kind of small and the website is really hard to navigate. So I told him I just called them and they emailed me a pricing guide, and they let me go ahead and reserve the pavilion over the phone. And just told me to like bring a check just at least 2 days before the party. But then a few days later, he texted me and asked if I had to pay a deposit to reserve the pavilion. I was like, no. They just asked my name and address and basically told me to bring a check and whenever I could. He said, yeah, that's what I thought you said. He said they told him that they just updated their pricing guide like a couple days ago. And he sent me the PDF, but he said that it was $250 now for 2 hours, and they needed a $150 deposit. And I was like, damn. So I asked him if he booked it. He said, no, the only ones they had available were like the ones that are all kind of away from everything and in the sun, which in Florida with those metal roof pavilions, it's like an oven. And I don't know, like something didn't feel right. So I opened the PDF that he sent me, and sure enough, it said $250 for 2 hours and $150 deposit required to book. But it said some other shit on there too, like in the rules. So I was like, what the fuck? Like it seemed a little specific. Like no DJs, no loud music. Each pavilion has a strict capacity of 20 guests, including adults and children. If your party is larger than 20, you will need to reserve an adjacent pavilion. So like my alarm bells are going off because the PDF that they sent me had none of these types of rules in it. And I was just like, something's up. So a couple days ago, I give him a call to see if what I think is happening is happening. I call him, I say, hey, this is blah, blah, blah. I booked a pavilion a couple of weeks ago for my son's birthday. I tell him my name. He's like, oh yeah, how was it? I was like, it was good. But I'm calling because my daughter has a birthday coming up and I'd like to book the same pavilion if I can. He says, of course. What's the date? You can probably see where I'm going with this, but I tell him the same date as my friend was trying to book. And he says, yeah, it's open. Should I go ahead and reserve it for you? I said, do you need a deposit? He's like, oh, no, it's just like last time. You just bring the payment when you're able to. I ask, it's $150, right? And he's like, yep. I say, I'll get back to you, and I hang up. So, yeah, it's what I think it is. And a detail that really shouldn't matter. My buddy is black. And I'm not going to say his name for privacy, but he has a name that if you heard it, you would correctly assume he's a black man. Then, just to tie it all together, I decided to look at the metadata of the PDF my friend sent me and showed that document was last modified 5 years ago, not just a couple days ago. And the file name had one slight difference. Mine was named pavilionrentalguide.pdf. My friend's was named pavilionrentalguide-c.pdf. None of what I just said is true. What is true is that was almost exactly what Donald Trump and his property management company, Trump Management, did to black families who applied to rent apartments in his buildings in New York City in the 60s and 70s.
The Department of Justice alleged applications submitted by prospective African-American renters were designated with a secret code, such as C for colored, to indicate a black person was looking to rent.
And they get so upset when we call him what he is.
Shalom.